Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to the next day of the Omer count. Today is day 15, and we're looking forward to Shabbat tomorrow. Thank you, welcome for joining us again on our regular little daily trek through thoughts and ideas in Messianic Judaism, as we're looking at some of the core ideas and just provocative thoughts and things around this. So I just want to throw something out at you, something we've been chewing on for a little while around this. Many of you have got some ideas and thoughts, of course, about what happens in the end times and so on. And so far, I've kind of studiously avoided wading too far into this area in the public domain. But I just want to read a couple of passages for you. This comes from Shemot, book of Exodus, chapter 8, first of all. And it says, "And in that day I will set apart the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, in order that you may know that I am the Lord in the midst of the land. I will make a difference between my people and your people. Tomorrow this sign shall be." And we roll on through some of the other plagues, again picking up in chapter 9. It says, "Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, there was no hail." And again, when we get to the plague of darkness, this is in chapter 10 now. It says, "They did not see one another, nor did anyone rise from his place for 3 days, but all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings." It's an interesting little theme that runs through all of this, because people often have talked about this in the past theologically, and they have all kinds of ideas and thoughts around this, but it seems to be very clear within Jewish thinking, within Judaism, is that what God does when he judges the earth, and my personal opinion is right now this is a judgment that we are seeing upon the earth with this COVID-19 plague. It has biblical proportions. There's something about this which seems to be the hand of God in judgment in connection with all the many other things that have been happening around the world, both prior to this and also during this time. We do appear to be in a time of God's judgment. And the thinking often goes that somehow that the Lord would not allow us to go through this, that he will take us out. As a theory, of course, is often being called the rapture. I don't see that as what is in the scriptures. What I see when you look back to the plagues of Egypt, which was the known world at the time, is that when God's judgment hit Egypt, the world as it was, he was attacking the idols, the economy and so on, the different bits of that world system that was creating the world in a way that it was at its time. That all one by one just picked them all off and attacked them and brought judgments upon them. But the one thing that we see through all of this is that the Jewish people were not removed. We were not just raptured out of Egypt. We weren't taken out and protected in some way. We were protected in Egypt. We were safe in that area. But here comes the real clue. The scriptures seem to be saying to us through this, that as we were in the land of Goshen, together as a community, as one, if we stuck together and held together and stayed in the place that God had put us to be, then we were safe from the plagues which were going around. I say we were safe. That's not to say that the plagues didn't touch us. That's not to say that we weren't impacted by the plagues that were going on around us, because we were still in that country, and clearly we were. But he kept us as a nation, a people, a community safe if we stuck together in Goshen. And you know, the thought occurs to me here that the more we wandered off from the community and into the other places around us, the more in danger we became as individuals and as people. The more we stuck together as a community in the place that God had kept us to bring us that success and prosperity while we were there, the more that was happening, the safer we were. We see the same pattern in many ways, and we go back to the time of Noah and with his ark that he was building. You know, it would have been very easy for the Lord to just literally physically remove Noah out. Maybe just translated him as he did with Enoch or something, and just taken him out and brought judgment upon the rest, wrapped up the world, finished, done, dusted, gone. The same pattern emerges, that he places Noah in a certain place with his family where he is safe and secure while the judgment is going on around him. This is the biblical pattern. I think it's the Jewish pattern. I think it's what we'd expect to be even in these last days. That what we see is that God protecting his community in the judgments which break out on the world. I don't know the numbers of people that have suffered in Israel, and even if it's only one, it's more than enough. I guess the statisticians will work all that out in the end. But the one thing we do know, I believe, when we look at the scriptural pattern, we are stronger if we stay together in the place where He has put us. If we stick together as a community, then at that point, light shines in our dwellings. It shines in our dwellings out to the world where there is the judgment and the darkness. But we have to be in those places together for that light to shine out. And that in itself becomes an attraction to the rest of the world, because they will pay notice to this as a testimony of the power of God. They will pay testimony to this, that this is the place where they're meant to be. It's why, of course, the mixed multitude left Egypt with us, those of the nations who were looking at our ability to survive these judgments. They could see the hand of God in this and said, we want to be where you are. We want to be where the God of Israel is, because the gods of Egypt, they're useless, they're worthless, they can do nothing for us. Being with your God is the place of security. That is our testimony. And that is what we pray for, His protective hand. To just say it again, God protects in judgment. He doesn't necessarily take us out of it, but we go through it as a testimony to the power of redemption and salvation and deliverance of the God of Israel. Amen. Have a wonderful Shabbat. There's no comment tomorrow because it's Shabbat. The next blog comment here for the Counting the Omer will be on Yom Rishon on Sunday. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.